And we're live. So, guys, and gals, and I've actually been starting to learn. I'm just going to say, hey, everyone. How about that? Something a little more gender neutral there. So, I want to just kind of, tell everyone I've been gone for like 2 weeks. I haven't been streaming and I'm like missing it a lot. I love doing this every Tuesday at 10 a.m. And, we have an amazing guest today. I have some other things to share, personal things to share here, like kind of what's been going on the last couple weeks. And I'm really looking forward to kind of like giving you guys all this information. We have a new sponsor, Roofers Helping Roofers, Jonathan Sherwood, amazing guy. And so yeah, we have a lot to kind of do today in today's show. So I'm going to kind of cut right to the intro and let's get things going, okay? So we're back. I just want to say a couple words about our sponsors. The newest one I'm really excited about is Roofers Helping Roofers, Jonathan Sherwood. He's the president of Roofers Helping Roofers. And Roofers Helping Roofers is a consulting platform. Let me just make sure I've got this right before I start saying things I should be saying. It's a consulting platform that helps, just one second here. Consulting platform designed to offer services ranging from sales training to job procurement and fulfillment. Jonathan Sherwood is the president of Roofers Helping Roofers. So I have actually personally worked with Jonathan. He's an amazing guy. If you need some if you have a big roofing job and you're not exactly sure what to do, that's what Roofers Helping Roofers is, in my opinion. So we also have the Roofing Academy. If you're like a roofing company owner and you're kind of not quite sure how to get to the next level. I know Randy Brothers is the owner of the Roofing Academy. He just came out with a new program, how to get your roofing company to 5 million, like a blueprint to get to 5 million. So definitely reach out to him. Get the Referral is another sponsor, and Get the Referral actually creates branded custom apps for construction companies. So, don't drop 60 grand on an app. Reach out to Get the Referral before you do that. And finally, we have Velocity Public Adjusting. Jack Hanks is the owner of Velocity Public Adjusting. And if you're looking at if you have a large loss claim, you're not quite sure what to do, you're getting a little lost, reach out to Jack Hanks, because he really, not only does he teaches it now, he's teaching how to become a public adjuster. And not only is he working on the actual claims, he's also just straight up teaching. And so get your deals straight from the teacher. I want to jump in a little bit about kind of the last couple weeks. I've been gone, right? And so some things I really want to share with you. I took a break. I went to my brother-in-law's wedding in Malibu, California. It was this incredible wedding right on the ocean. I felt like it was sort of a dream, and dream wedding for them, I know, because they were just having an amazing time. She had a lot of amazing friends, and everything was just perfect, picture perfect. And I got to spend time with my kids and my sons, my 3-year-old kind of going all over the place, running around like crazy, tantruming here and there. Classic 3-year-old behavior. And we also got to spend some time at Disney and just kind of sightseeing and doing stuff like that. And it just kind of was able to get refreshed and kind of spend some quality time with family. And some things I want to share is, the last year and a half, has been a pretty intense struggle, for me personally. The pandemic has been really hard on my personal life, on my work life. And then I am spread myself too thin. Okay. I spread myself too thin. I am running this roofing company, right? Foothills Roofing and Exteriors. I run this media lab business, this media business that I started back in August about a year ago. And I'm getting booked out for that. I'm not even really actively seeking clients. People are coming to me to kind of to get some video content made for their business. And I'm booked out through September at this point. And I still have my young family to work on. And in the last year, I've experienced pretty severe burnout. Okay. To the point where it's kind of messed with my mental health, and it has really, it's been hard, and so I just want to let people know that. I also want to let people know that please take time for yourselves, and not only that, but make a priority taking time for yourself, and make it a priority to take care of yourself, to find things to do that refresh and rejuvenate you. I mean, I've been going hard for the last 6 years, pretty much. When I was running the old company, I was going hard 10, 15 hours a day, and then I started my company, same thing, 10, 15 hours a day. And it all kind of accumulated once the pandemic hit. And I was just, it all accumulated into me suffering from burnout, some mental health issues, and and overall kind of some general unhappiness, So I'm finally kind of coming out from that and breaking free of it, thank God. And a lot of it has to do because I'm so passionate about creating content and making videos. And, we're kind of getting the roofing business on track, and some good things are happening there as well. So that's kind of what I want to share with you guys. I mean, I had a great time making content for Kimberly Reed and Paul Reed this past weekend. They hired me to create content for the Commercial Roofing Academy. Amazing things they have going on. Met some amazing people, made some awesome content, be coming out here real soon. Was able to make some content for roofers in recovery, another amazing thing that's going on. If you have struggles with addiction, check out Roofers in Recovery. It's a great resource for people. And so, okay. Enough of that stuff. I want to really jump in with Ben Hodson, and I want to get his personal perspective about certain things too. Hopefully we don't go too deep into his personal life, but I tend to do that sometimes. But let's see, let's kind of see what Ben has going on. We're going to cut to a quick break. Make sure I've got Ben on the line, and I can't wait to share the next segment, which is our featured guest, Ben Hodson, co-founder of Job Nimbus. Keep in mind, guys, this is a live stream. No edits, no filters, no nothing. What gets said, and it stays, unless I delete it later. So let's hope I don't have to delete it later. All right, let's see. We're going to cut to a quick break. Get a word from one of our sponsors, and we'll get Ben on right when we come right back. Ben, can you hear me?
I can.
Can you see me?
No.
Okay. So Ben, I'm not sure if you've live streamed before, but it's it's no editing, no filters,
Yep.
no
That's
nothing.
great.
What gets said gets said. It's kind of like being in Vegas. What happens on the Contractor Weekly stays on the Contractor Weekly, and it doesn't ever go away unless I delete it.
I think that's cool. There's an element of danger to it. I love that.
There is. Yeah. So it's definitely fun. But I'm going to kind of make sure, and I don't. It's technical. It's more technical than I
Yeah.
really even realized. Because a lot of people are like, oh, what do you mean? You're just going live? What I'm like, no, live streaming is a little different than going live.
Yep.
And so we, okay, so yeah, here we are. Let me make sure. Yeah,
Especially since we're connected at different places. I'm in Utah right now, and we're having to coordinate all that stuff. It's actually really cool what technology can do now with this.
you know what it is. It's definitely taken us to new levels. I think that's part of what is challenging about it, though, because it's fairly new. There's not a lot of training out there for it. You kind of have to be self-taught.
Yeah.
So, and one thing is, what I'm doing right now, is I'm actually fixing. So Ben, do you like to go as founder, or you go by co-founder? What's the title you like to use?
I'm the CEO now, so that's most commonly how I'm referred to. Co-founder, though, I think if any one person's talking about founding the company, they said they're a founder. But I like to always make sure to people to know that Nick and Jason, my two partners, were a big part of this, and so I want to make sure always know that there was multiple people that made this what it is.
You know what? I feel like you at the very beginning you kind of put yourself out there a little bit more as sort of like the
Yep,
face, and
I
so I
did.
feel like your other co-founders like in a sense weren't it really like I don't know they didn't they didn't get the love that they probably should have got really because they were probably busy doing the technical stuff and like
That's
doing
exactly what they were doing. Yeah.
right.
And they're a little more introverted too. So I think they like that. What's interesting is when you start a business with partners,
Mhm.
you're always looking for a way to balance the two. You need to have somebody who's like the front man. It's almost like starting a band. You got to have a good lead singer that's got a good, it's good with the public or whatever. But then you got to have a great guitarist and you got a great drummer. Otherwise, you suck as a band. And so it's that combination that really makes it special. And everybody kind of plays their part. And so if you aren't very good at being the front man, you want to find somebody like that while you're really good on the technical or whatever, you want to be able to focus on that. It worked out great. I mean, I love the guys. They're just amazing people.
Well,
Um,
let's get into the early days. Do you mind like sharing some of that story? And I kind of get into detail, like sort of.
yeah,
I'm
I'd
known
love
for being
to.
a little obnoxious about it, actually, because I like to really understand. Like, if I'm not clear about something, I will like question it and unpack it until we really get it. And
Mhm.
like I talked to Ronnie about some of the early days, but I mean, gosh, your perspective is like about those early days would be really is going to be fascinating actually because I've always been curious about it because I know you were sort of the face, and then your co-founders were there, but like prior to kind of getting Job Nimbus going, like was it an idea at first? I was like, I wonder if we do that. At some point where you're just like hanging out, taking a nap, and wake up with the idea. Like, where's the? Can you tell a little bit about
Yeah.
the inception of the actual idea of Job Nimbus?
So Job Nimbus is actually the 10th 1-0 business I've started. It's kind of crazy.
Mm.
And I've had some big successes. One of my companies, Venify, just got bought for over $1 billion in December of last year. So
Wow.
I've played pretty big, but I've also had a bunch of stuff that didn't work out or just kind of worked out. Like I made money on it, but it wasn't a huge win or whatever, or there wasn't a strong way to grow it. So it's kind of went away or we shut it down or whatever. So every single one of those businesses, not a single one came from just an idea that popped in. I have to like immerse myself in the problems of the customer, and they got to rub off on me, and I got to get really passionate about one problem. So that's actually what happened with Job Nimbus. I took roofing for granted my whole life. I never worked on a roofing crew. I knew of roofs, but it was just like, oh, there's a roof. I mean, honestly, I didn't think anything I didn't know what underlayment was. I didn't know any parts of a roof or anything like that. And there was a guy named Dave Hickey. I don't know if you know Dave. He runs
Yeah.
a company out of Florida. Cool dude.
Wait, he does. Dave, you're talking about the supplement. He does.
Yes,
No, he works for Hail
exactly.
Trace
And
now.
that's what he was doing back in, this is 2012.
Okay, yeah, and now he works. He works with Hail Trace.
That's right. Exactly.
I just saw Dave at the IRE recently.
He's a fun guy to
I've
talk
known him for a
to.
while. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, I mean, gosh, he like helped me because we, when I was first starting Foothills, I was like, kind of like freaking out, and my roofing company, and he was like, "Hey, we got you covered with the supplement side," and he was
Yep.
just like, "You got this, man. You've been doing it." Like, he just like really like, supported me,
That's
emotionally,
cool.
which was
That's
really
kind of how
cool.
he
Yeah,
was for us too.
really
It
interesting.
was weird. So he invited us down. He actually wanted some software built. And at the time, I was kind of looking for my next idea. I was working with Nick and Jason. In fact, Jason and I had done a company before this together. So I'd known him for a long time. And Nick is Jason's brother. And I'd always wanted to work with Nick, and he was just leaving. He was actually the CTO, Chief Technology Officer of ProHosting.com, which at the time was the biggest hosting company in Utah. And he was their technological guru.
So
And
Ben,
he
you
decided
had
to
a
leave
you
there.
had a
And
sorry Ben, sorry I don't sorry to interrupt you, but you had a previous relationship and history with the co-founders.
yep,
Is that right?
yep,
Okay,
yep.
that's a very important key, right? Because I mean, I hear people, I meet people all the time, and they're like, "I've got this idea. I want to start a business. I met this guy here at the conference. We're going to start a business." And I'm like, do you know the person? Like, you guys know each other from beforehand? And they're like, no. I'm like, dude, like, you're kind of talking about jumping into a marriage and you guys like just met, like,
It really is a
right?
marriage, and it breaks up like a marriage, and all kinds of things happen like a marriage. And you have to nurture it like a marriage. That's a perfect example.
Mm.
And I love partners because, one of the things you were talking about early on in this show was that, it's been a struggle and you've had some tough times. And
Yeah.
I love having a partner because there's just somebody who's going through the same problems you are, and you can commiserate. I mean, there was a lot of times early stage of Job Nimbus where Nick and I would just call each other and just say, well, embrace the suck today. It's been rough, hasn't it? Yep. And we have no money, and we're not making any money, and this is tough.
Yeah.
And it gets you through tough times. It's
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, I wish I had that, like sometimes I get so freaking lonely that I'm just like,
yeah.
And like, I have the support of my family. My wife's amazing and stuff, but she doesn't really get it when I'm like in the day-to-day weeds of just like problems, and dealing with whatever problems and stuff. Like, but if I had a partner there, we're kind of in it together, I could see how that would be you can sort of like console each other. It's a nice coping mechanism in a certain extent, and you can kind of get each other like snapped out of things too, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. A lot of first ideas I have, I don't believe are the best idea. And when you're in a vacuum and everybody's looking to you for leadership, you just kind of have to go with stuff. And it's really nice to have a partner that's sort of at the same level as you, so that you can bounce ideas off and they can push back and say, hey, dude, that was a bad idea. It's sort of like Lennon and McCartney in the Beatles. Like, Paul had a ton of ideas, and so did John, and they were a filtering mechanism. Like, John, that song sucks, and that's what made things better, was the conflict and debate around it.
What's hard with sometimes people have talk to me, like, I have an employee who's like, I think would make a great partner, and I'm like, okay, what's your relationship? Like, well, they've been working here for 6 months, it's been good, this and that. And I'm like, well, Are they, do they argue with you at all? Well, no, not at all. That's what's so great. We don't fight. We don't, we get along really well. And I'm like, well, dude, you probably want someone who's going to disagree with you, man. Like you want someone disagreeing with you, like not like in a way that's like, you can't work together, but like someone who's going to at least be like, okay, look, I agree, dude, but for devil's advocate's sake, let's flesh this out. I don't agree. What if I said X, Y, and Z? And you're like, oh, that really makes me think harder, makes me kind of really, right? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, for sure. It's that healthy debate. And the difference between toxic debate, where you're like, we're going nowhere, and you're just trashing things and throwing cold water on everything. And the healthy debate where you're going, wow, you helped me see maybe a better way to do something, or I hadn't thought of that angle. Man, that's very valuable, the conversation I'm having. It made the idea better. And the truth is, any idea, if you can debate it and it withstands the debate, then it was a good idea. And if it fails the debate, it sucked as an idea, and you're glad you didn't do it in the first place. And you need that debate to filter those things.
Have there been ideas that you've had that were not lasting? I mean, gosh, you must have been through many ideas, right, in your career that were not lasting, and you kind of had to ditch them, and maybe had some like almost grief around it because you loved the idea potentially.
Yeah, for sure. I think of one in particular where my wife got really into Tupperware and these house parties that they would have where they would sell each other stuff, and
Tupperware was huge back in the day. Like, I didn't realize, man. My father-in-law was like, oh, you have some Tupperware, and my wife got it from like at a thrift store or something, and like I was like, yeah. I mean, he's like, man, I just remember my mom having Tupperware parties, and like it was like a huge like social thing that people had, and he's like, social media is kind of like the modern day Tupperware. And I'm like, okay,
that's exactly right, and I was seeing how they were doing it, and I was meeting all these hostesses, and they were struggling to be able to get invites out and be able to logistically coordinate everything. There's no software for that. So, well, let's build some software. So we built a company actually called Easy Party Invites, where my idea was, let's just make it all automated. You put in the names of the people, it sends out printed postcards that you can have the colors and everything, just like you had handwritten them. And it does the emailing. At the time, there wasn't really texting. And And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. And a lot of customers liked it. Here's the problem. Nobody wanted to pay for anything. They all wanted it to be free. There was no money to be had because it turns out the margins are razor thin for these hostesses. And they're not willing to invest in some software to help them automate that. They'd rather handwrite it. So it was a bad idea. And I was pretty bummed because we worked on it for like 8 or 9 months before we had to abandon it. Never made any money on it, even though we had a full company set up, you know?
Well, you're making me think about a certain concept. I might get a little weird here. I'll try to get it back on track. Okay. But like the demonetization of technology and this idea of like related to this idea of the singularity. Are you familiar with that idea of the singularity?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so like I've dabbled in I know a little bit about a lot, just enough to be dangerous about stuff. And so I've read some things about the singularity, and that's where technology, where the sort of like artificial intelligence will exceed that technology will exceed the intelligence of humanity. And at that point, through like the exponential growth of technology as it's moving now, this like point should happen in the next like 20 years potentially. And the idea is, I think, is that demonetization of technology will happen, and where artificial intelligence will figure out how to like basically like make all the resources sort of available to us, where we're kind of left with not having to really do much anymore and not even have to pay for stuff anymore. Yep. Have you heard about this? Have you given this some thought at all, or is that a little out there?
I actually thought a lot about it. I think it's inevitable, but the truth is that it's a lot further out than people. I think a lot of science fiction and movies and even some of the stuff like Elon Musk last week with his dumb little robot thing that everybody knows is never going to actually happen. It's all way further out than we think. If you go back to the 1920s, 1930s, it's actually funny to read science fiction predictions because, we're living on Mars by the year 1980. And of course, now it's 2021 and we can't even figure out how to get to Mars yet, let alone anywhere outside of our galaxy. So it's going to take a while, but it is inevitable. I would say we're still hundreds of years away from that.
Was there a time in Job Nimbus where you kind of thought, can we make this free potentially and like kind of work with advertisers and stuff like that?
Yeah, we messed around with that for about 2 years, a freemium quote unquote model where we had a paid version and a free version. What we saw is that the people that got it for free didn't ever engage or use it. There was a skin in the game problem with it that we could never really crack. And as soon as we switched to just making, you had to pay something and we just had different tiers, then we saw engagement in the product more than quadrupled. And it's like, well, if I'm paying for it, I should use it. And then they learn it, then they have a great experience and then be a customer for life. But it was hard to get people, free was kind of like worthless. Well, it must not be worth anything because it's free. And so I'll get around to it, but I'm really busy with my business. So I don't have time to learn software. And they would just stick in that stage forever and never get out of it.
So I have a friend who runs this really successful financial software company, and he was kind of telling me when they first launched, they actually had a free version, and they could they work with financial services, so like they basically were like a lead gen for the financial for the banks and whatnot, and so the banks would pay them, and for these clients. But he's like, we were struggling because it was like free. We figured everybody would want to get it, but they wouldn't. And as soon as we started charging, X amount of dollars, even just a few $100, and we steadily increased, we got more engagement, more traffic. We got more people interested and working with it. And so it actually helped our business model to just charge, on the front end and get money on the back end, just increased our profitability. We have basically 2 sources of revenue, and it got us more clients. And he's like, and dude, honestly, I that just like was kind of mind blowing to me. Like how to,
it's counterintuitive,
very counterintuitive.
Yeah. Same thing happened to us. So, okay. So let's rewind back to 2012. We meet Dave Hickey. He actually invited us to come down to his office down in Colorado. And this was my first experience meeting any roofers. He had some of his customers because he was doing negotiations for supplementing. Back
you were sort of a tech kind of guy. Like
I'm a tech guy. All my 10 companies have been software companies. Okay. Even Easy Party Invites was mostly a software.
So you were sort of this tech entrepreneur walking into this like construction roofing space back in like 2012.
and it was wild. I remember two things. One, I remember really liking these roofers and home exterior guys. They were very down to earth. They were transparent. They told you what's on their mind. You could never BS them. I thought they were really cool people. I connected immediately, partially because I was like, man, they're just entrepreneurs like me. Yeah, I'm doing software, they're doing construction, but same difference. We're just trying to get our business off the ground. So I felt a real kinship there. And then the second thing I realized is that nobody in technology, I mean, I was kind of like, I grew up in the Seattle area, strong Microsoft background, Silicon Valley connections. Guys like me were not thinking of how to solve roofers' problems in software.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the smartest people in America in 2012 were trying to figure out how to make Twitter run faster, which is sort of like insulting now these days, but they were not figuring out how to make a better software. And so we kind of walked out of that meeting going, there might be something here, because we are one of the only software people looking at this problem right now. And I think we could really make an impact.
Real quick little bit of insider information is that since then, the roofing industry has really evolved into kind of a vibrant, industry at this point. I think that it's not so archaic, the way it was definitely back in 2012. But I think the rise of Storm Ventures Group and Anthony Del Medico kind of bringing people together is huge. Continues to be huge for the industry. And now, however, Ben, like the restoration industry is kind of like where roofing was in 2012 now. Just so
I know. Honestly, it's probably 10 years behind, maybe 15 in some cases.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is still in roofing, 55+% of people are using pen and paper or Excel to run their whole business. It just blows my mind today. Blows my mind with all the tools that we have.
Well, I think, there's this, the YouTuber Dmitry Lipinski.
Oh, yeah. Know him well.
He did an interview with a guy out of Justin Reno, I want to say is his name. And he, that's what Justin Reno does. Like, he's doing like paper files, and like interview, and Dimitri was like, dude, like, why don't you have a CRM? He's like, I don't need a CRM. The dude does like $5 million a year, just himself, pen and paper, with like 2 assistants or something like to that effect. And I was just kind of like mind blown.
It for sure. There's a lot of success stories that way. I mean, we just signed up a customer that's a $40 million roofer. It's been going for 30 years on paper, and this is their first time moving over to electronic. Now, I will tell you, the biggest thing they had is that they were running a good business with paper. They make a lot of money, but they had terrible insights into their business. The reporting sucked, and it makes sense. I mean, it's all stuck on paper. You can't really collate reports, So
well, I mean, a $40 million business with Job Nimbus. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say they can double their company in a couple of years.
That's what we think. And I mean, on average, we're seeing 40% more revenue in just the first year with any company that signs up for us. So,
I mean, to be honest, Ben, when I realized that like Job Nimbus was going to be the right solution for my roofing company, and I realized that, I realized that I could run this thing through my phone, the whole business with my phone. That's when I really realized I needed to kind of like venture out on my own, because I was it does take a lot of work to implement Job Nimbus into a roofing company. I mean, there's no way around that, dude. Like, I've done it, and and even for a small company like mine, it's been a lot of work, and it continues to evolve as we grow. We have to, make adjustments to the CRM. And I think a lot of contractors, from what I've kind of seen out on the street, is they just kind of think, oh, well, we're just right out of the box. They can kind of jump into a CRM and start using it and kind of fast track the business. But you really have to get your head around investing, I think quite a bit of time, resources, mental resources, and thinking through your processes. At least a good 6 months, I would say, to kind of get the foundation of the CRM built. Would you agree, disagree?
Yeah, what I would say is, by the way, we've gotten even better since you started with us. And I love Foothills. I love what you did with that company. It's such a great success story of just doing it right from the beginning. But here's what I would say. I'll give an example of our own company. We used Job Nimbus internally for years as our own CRM for all of our customers. Gotcha. We're great. And in about 2017, 2018, we said, man, this isn't working as well. Why? Oh, we're a software company. We need these things in CRM, and all our customers need these things. They're not software. And so we realized that we were kind of building something different than what we needed to use internally. So we actually moved. I've used Salesforce a bunch. We used to move to HubSpot because I love their marketing integration.
Yeah.
And why I share this story is because I feel like HubSpot and JobNimbus are similar in some ways. With HubSpot, every single week we're tweaking something. As we're growing as a business, there's something new that we need, a capability, and we're rolling it out. And I think JobNimbus is so customizable. It lets you do that. And companies that are in high growth have to do that. You have to keep working your software. We actually still pay for a HubSpot consultant to meet with us every week for an hour to consult on our software. And it's made
you didn't use that the investment money to just hire a full-time HubSpot technician in-house?
Yes, for sure. We actually have 3 now at the company that
nice,
we have a sales, a marketing, and a customer experience.
That's really interesting that you're like using HubSpot. And so Ben, and I'm sort of ADD, so like we're jumping all over the place a bit.
Fine.
But yeah, and so however, I want to get back to like, okay, so we went to the so you kind of like, you had this idea, you met with Dave Hickey. And then that one was so the idea hadn't been born yet, right? It was happening as you're kind of talking to Dave Hickey. It starts to kind of like germinate. Is that right?
Yeah, it was actually his customers that really gave us the idea. I mean, I remember one guy saying, the software in this industry sucks. And honestly, it did back then. Most people are using Act or something like that. You had to install a server in your office. You could only access it from your computer while you're in the office. There was no mobile capability. There was no mobile apps for anything. I mean, it was kind of a wreck in 2012.
Yeah.
And so that's where we saw the opportunities. Like, man, we could make a cloud-based CRM. That was like a new thing at the time. Nobody put anything in the cloud back in 2012, hardly. Now everybody does.
So I did go to some sort of like random trade show back then, and I was in roofing in 2011. I think I joined. 2011. And I remember going, and there's this like random CRM, and he's like, oh yeah, look, it's right here. You just download your computer. You got to have somebody. So the guy pitched me on like, you had to like download it to one desktop, and then you had to have a person on that desktop who was going to be manning it. They had to be the one answering the phones, putting it into the desktop, and then they would be able to, like, I think, email you the lead or something like that, and then they would have to keep track. And he's like, I mean, it's hard because you kind of have to have, like, a full-timer, like, managing that, like, software, but it'll be cool.
They would hire their IT buddies to come over and do that stuff for them,
Yeah, and I was like, man, that's going to be hard. Like, that with the company I was with, it wasn't going to work. So, but I remember like seeing that and being like, dude, it's an awesome idea, like to be able to like, run everything through the computer, and having the people in your computer instead of like just all the I mean, I think I was using a BlackBerry back then, and so just using my BlackBerry and stuff to keep track of things, so yeah, and then okay, so then you hear someone say the software actually sucks in this industry, and that kind of got a spark ignited, it sounds like.
They showed me. It looked very dated and didn't have a lot of capabilities, the stuff they were showing me. The other thing was that everybody wanted more and more smartphones were becoming the norm in 2012, 2013. And so people wanted to, like you were saying, access it on their phone. And it was really difficult to do, mostly because nothing was cloud-based hardly at the time. So anyways, we saw an opportunity. We went back and whiteboarded out some ideas on this and got actually super stoked about it. We took about 5 or 10 of Dave Hickey's customers and just said, hey, can you guys do a call with us every week? It was like Monday morning at 10 a.m. Met for an hour. And we just, I would learn a lot about roofing terms and how the industry worked and hear about processes. But we actually started getting feedback on this early app that we created. I mean, Nick and I and one of our coders, Rishi, built the first version of this thing.
Okay.
And it was very simple. It just tracked contacts and jobs and did some notes and things like that.
So in your industry, that is what you call, like, you were kind of trying to find an MVP, a minimum viable product.
Minimum viable product. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it was very simple, but what we had was so much better than everything else out there and was so
Wow.
convenient and easy access for mobile app. People really dug it.
Hmm.
And we spent the next year just having conversations, letting everybody use it for free, getting a learning, and we were adding capabilities on a weekly or monthly basis to it. We're
And
adding
you
new
weren't making any
capabilities.
money during that year, right? Like,
No money. We were
how were you
still
guys
running
sustaining
a
yourselves? Just,
consulting company on the side.
oh, gotcha.
So that was I was doing software projects, and then I'd code on Job Nimbus at night, and kind of straddling it. At the end or sorry, early 2013, Nick and I and Jason were going, there's no way to, I mean, I know I've done a bunch of businesses. There's no way to really take something to the next level unless you go all in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we did a really scary thing. I remember it being very stressful at the time. We decided to sell off our consulting company. You don't really sell it for a lot of money. You just basically cover your costs and make a little money on it. So we took that money,
Yeah.
threw it into Job Nimbus.
Okay.
But that was the only place we were making money at the time.
Wow. Wow.
And
So you're
so
like really
we just started living
bootstrapping.
off of savings for the next basically year. I don't think we got any money out of the company until 2014.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, you're like living, I mean, you're talking about like ramen type situation.
Yeah,
right?
it was
Like,
beans and rice. My wife is so awesome. It's kind of like your wife, like just a supportive person who believes in what we're doing and was willing to weather the storm with two little kids. And
wow.
so we would do crazy things. But part of it was I've raised venture capital money, and we really want to do Job Nimbus bootstrapped. I wanted to build a business without any outside investment. And so Nick and I
Why?
put our
Why was that? Why was
money.
that so important, Ben?
Well, okay. So I was reeling a little bit because I'd done a couple of businesses where I'd raised pretty big money. I mean, one company over 50 million we'd raised. And one, you lose control of the company when you
Okay.
raise money early on.
Okay.
That just is the name of the game.
Gotcha.
I mean, one company I had 50%, raised 5.5 million and was down to 5%.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. Wow. Wow.
I mean, valuations just suck when you're early and don't have any customers, but you trade that out for the less stress of, well, at least they get paid.
So,
But
Ben,
then if the company goes big, you're like, yeah, but I didn't get a lot out of this, and I don't have control. I can't even make decisions because the investors run it,
so Ben, there's this like there's this like the algorithm on YouTube delivered me a video once, who knows how.
Yeah. Sure.
And I watched a billionaire type investor from Silicon Valley, and he's like talking about this idea that like founders are actually kind of like, I mean, I think, using the word like being enslaved is a little over dramatic, but I think that's the wording he used, and he's like, and investors come and like pour money into it. And all of a sudden this founder who had a lot of passion, had a lot of, passion and motivation to kind of grow this company is now under the control of the founders or of the investors. And that's sort of the game of investment. And he's like, his argument was like, founder, like, bootstrap yourself, do this in a way so you can kind of keep your company. And is he being over dramatic? I mean, is that a real thing in your industry?
There's two companies I've done that we raised a lot of money, and I definitely felt like I wouldn't go so far as to say a slave, but
Right.
it was in that zone. Like, it was miserable coming to work every day.
Yeah.
I started to hate the business. I didn't want to work. I lost motivation.
Yeah.
It was just a huge bummer. I mean, when you don't see eye to eye in the investor, here's the problem I made. I took the highest term sheet instead of taking the right person. And it goes back to actually our original conversation around partners.
Okay.
Your investor is a partner. You're getting married. And so you better pick the right person. And sure, you want the term sheet to be good and have good numbers, but there were term sheets that were 10, 15% off of the top one that were much better people I should have picked, but I didn't do that. We took the highest number. And it was people, I remember even signing a term sheet and going, man, I don't even like these guys. It'll probably all work out. It doesn't work out.
Interesting. So by the time you kind of got to the point where you're bootstrapping Job Nimbus, how old were you at that time?
Let's see. That would have been, I was in my, I'm 45 now. So I would have been like 38.
So you had some pretty good experience under your belt as far as.
Yeah, I've done a lot of companies.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to do this one, because I was like, okay, I know we can do it. Okay. Nick has run profitable businesses. I have too. but we know we're going to have a rough time. And when you're trying to start a CRM, which is like a platform play, we're not just like some piece of software that solves one thing. We're your whole core system for your business. It is much harder to bootstrap your way to that because you have to have a breadth of features and capabilities to even play the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so 2014, 2015 were particularly hard years.
Yeah.
At one point, now here's the truth. You never want to raise money when you need it. It sounds crazy.
Okay.
You want to raise money when you're trying to grow. That's when investors really will give you a great valuation and you get a lot of money. That's what we did with Job Nimbus. This raise we did back in December of last year for 53 million with Mainsail Partners. Yeah. I picked the right people. They're wonderful people, great partners. And we're on a growth curve right now. And so we didn't need the money. We wanted to use the money to grow faster and to put more money into support and the product and that sort of thing.
Well, I think
I remember we got a great valuation.
Well, I remember bumping into you though back then, like I want to say it was like 2014 or 15. You guys went to Western States Conference. Do you remember that? And we bumped into each at the Paris Hotel, I want to say, and you guys had not bought a table there, you know. I think, were you with Nick and who's the other co-founder? I'm sorry,
Jason. Yeah, I'm sure they were with me. They came to all the first couple of years. We just went to the shows and wandered around meeting people and kind of got a feel for, if we were going to do a booth, how could we do it right and that sort of thing. Yeah. One thing I had never really done in my career was a lot of trade shows. I wasn't a strong events guy. Most of my marketing had been organic or web-based marketing. And so when we were trying to build Job Nimbus and we knew trade shows had to be a part of it, we had to kind of learn, like you were saying with this technology, like just figure it out. There's not a lot of great books or anything on how to run a great trade show.
Well, I was talking to somebody though back then. I was like, yeah, I mean, the guys from Job Nimbus is here. I was a little surprised they didn't have a table, and they're like, yeah, I think they're just kind of doing some reconnaissance work, I guess.
They probably didn't have the money to get a table.
And I was like, they fund that whole. No, I think that my friend told me do you know they fund that company like completely on their own? I'm like, they're like completely self-funded. He's like, yeah, dude, like they don't take any investors. Like they're like technology. I thought all technology companies take investment money. He's like, not them, dude. He's like, they're like completely self-funded. Like they're just on their own, like no investment money. I'm like, dude, that's kind of nuts. And it's like, yeah, it might be why they didn't get a table. I'm like, yeah, could be. True. And so it's pretty amazing though, because you guys have come so far. And so that's kind of when I started dabbling with my just on my personal level. I started kind of dabbling with Job Nimbus and stuff. And so and then I rolled it out with my old company, and it started to kind of, I started to learn a lot better. And then with Foothills, I mean, I was like already like sort of an advanced user.
Exactly.
So, it was nice, man. With Foothills, I worked with my consultant, and we like just kind of like made it work like right away, right out of the gate. We had a full automated system, CRM, like ready to go. And that's kind of what we did it the right way. But so then fast forward, I mean, things have been really well. I mean, have gone really well. Like, I mean, I feel like Job Nimbus is the leading CRM. There's some competitors out there. They probably don't worry you at all. I mean, what's the future of Job Nimbus look like?
So product capabilities are just amazing this year. We've released something every single month, pretty significant. And we've got even bigger stuff coming out this quarter and next quarter. And then next year is just going to be incredible. We more than tripled the size of our dev team and that sort of thing. So we're building a lot more product capabilities, improving things. I'm really excited about that because we're finally getting to some of the super innovative things that I've always wanted to do, but we didn't have the capability. We're still just dealing with baseline stuff. We're finally past that into, I think, some really unique things around products and services that we've got coming out.
You do have some really cool stuff with growth services, right? Ben, I got to get something out of the way though. I gotta say something. I gotta make a confession. I might as well make it to you online. And the confession is that I was a very, a pretty loyal Job Nimbus guy. I could never say that I loved the app though. Okay. And I could not say that because my main problem was the mobile app, the mobile features. I really needed a great mobile feature to run my business. My goal was I wanted to run my company off my phone. That's what I wanted. So, I struggled with the mobile, and I would even I don't speak ill of people, in general, or of companies, but I was just sort of like, I would get frustrated sometimes, and I, in my little, small circles, and I hang with people who, are fairly known. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
guys, I love Job Nimbus, but the fucking mobile app sucks. Okay, and be like, I know the mobile app, and we're like, we could just get the mobile app right. And so, man, the last year, I want to get out there now. The mobile app is insane. The mobile app is like another level at this point. And Ben, I was honestly thinking of changing from Job Nimbus, like I'd say about a year and a half ago. And I was like,
there was a lot of frustration. We were frustrated too internally.
Yeah. And I was like, and my team was like, we don't want to change, but we need an app. We need the mobile app. I was like, I found this one, supposedly a great mobile app. I was dreading changing, right? It's like the worst thing you have to go through. And then like I ran into Ronnie, thank goodness, at a trade show. And he's like, dude, like, we changed the mobile app. And I was like, not really, because I don't even bother with it because I just get frustrated. He's like, go on it now. And I was like, okay. And I went on there. I was like, wait, it's like, okay, I was seeing my documents. It's like working flawlessly. He's like, yes, I should have called you, but like, yeah, we've changed it. Like it's working flawlessly now. And now I'm loving it. I mean, I can genuinely say I love the Job Nimbus app. I love my mobile app. I love my desktop. I'm just like, I can run my business off of my phone for the most part. There's some little glitchy stuff here, but I think it's more due to the bandwidth situation than really the app necessarily. Right. So, I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way.
Yeah, and that's great. I love to hear that. We've got even some newer stuff coming. I'm really excited. So probably 3-4 weeks away from announcing some huge improvements to the mobile app. You're going to be super stoked about it. Best ever.
I'm excited. I mean, at this point, I think I would definitely be a customer for life. I probably shouldn't say that, but it's going to.
Well, we got to earn that, but I love that idea.
You did earn it. I mean, gosh, I've been on, dabbling with Job Nimbus since like, I think 2014, or maybe even earlier than that.
You're super early stage. We hardly had any capabilities back then. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I did the same thing with Company Cam too, man. I was like one of the first ones. I mean, I think Luke Hansen was the guy who sold me on it, so he was still selling back then, and we used it. And I had some issues with it, but they've gotten really good at it too. And now we're integrated with Job Nimbus. So I mean, the integrations have been amazing. I mean, everything about it is pretty much incredible. You're going to keep it, I assume, right? No plans to sort
integrations where we've really succeeded. We have over 40. I mean, next closest competitor has like 5, so we give a lot more choice and flexibility. That's
the way that it integrates with our company cam, and then with our Eagle View, and then with our WePay, like it really is a solution, for everything. Like I need to send, I need an invoice. I can just send an invoice real quick, off my phone. I need an estimate, just go in there on my phone. But, we have spent some time setting it up and invested in setting it up, and we continue to tweak it, like I said. But anyways, Ben, we look forward to all the things. We're going to kind of wrap it up here. Thank you for your time. It's very generous of you to share so much of your time and let me pick your brain.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to connect. It has been a while. Are you going to be doing the rounds? Are we going to see you out at the trade shows in this year or early next year?
Oh, for sure. I mean, hopefully COVID doesn't shut everything down again. Yeah. I'm hopeful we're coming out of this pretty fast this time, but especially with the vaccinations. But as long as they're happening, I'm going to be there. So
awesome. Yeah. There's RoofCon, I think, coming up. There's
I'll be at RoofCon for sure.
Yeah. So you know what? There's going to be one
there actually.
Well, maybe offline, I'll talk to someone, to Taylor, about this, but the Experience is coming up. That is a restoration trade show. And I'm kind of intrigued by that industry, man, because
absolutely,
you know what I mean? It's like, there's a couple of really cool like consultant players in that industry. And, but I think that, like I was telling you, they are sort of where roofing was in 2012. And so, they're doing a thing September 8th in Vegas. So I might head down there, just do a little networking, hang out and stuff like that. So,
that sounds interesting. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully we'll catch each other at the shows.
Absolutely. I'm sure we will. We'll be in touch, and thank you again. We're going to end the show here. I'm going to get you offline at this point. I just do like this final thought type thing, and then we kind of close it out. So I'm going to let you go, Ben. Thank you again, and we will see you next time.
Okay. Thanks a bunch. Good to talk to you, Armando.
Yep. Thank you. We're going to cut to a quick break, and I'll be right back with our final thought.
my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be a soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be a soldier.
So we're back, guys, for my final thought, something I have borrowed from one of my favorite shows of all time, The Jerry Springer Show. I have a very guilty pleasure. I like to watch it late at night. It helps me kind of blow off some steam. Probably watch a little too much. So, you know, the final thought I want to kind of leave you with is like, wow, what a story, guys, right? Like with Ben Hodson and like hearing I call it the Genesis story of Job Nimbus. You have it here on the Contractor Weekly, saved for eternity, potentially uploaded into the cloud one day, and we'll have it forever. And one day maybe the robots will pick it up. But the inception story of Job Nimbus really makes me think about like, you know, hard work, perseverance, bootstrapping, going through those like tough early lean years, you know, and really kind of like working through that when you really believe in something, you know. And I think the world is missing that these days, you know, especially with so much. Man, I just got more news about shutdowns and about Delta variants and about all kinds of crazy stuff. And like, I just want to like impart a message for my final thought of just like, keep believing in yourself. Sounds corny, but it's not. It's true. Keep believing in yourself. Keep working towards your goals, your aspirations, and please, like, just trust in something bigger that, you know, things will work out, you know, and you know, that's kind of want to share my final thought. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in today on today's show, watching, listening, whatever you're doing. We will do our best to get it across all the platforms, and so excited for our sponsors. Again, our newest sponsor, Roofers in Recovery. Newest sponsor, Roofers Helping Roofers with President Jonathan Sherwood. Really excited to be a part of having Roofers Helping Roofers being a part of the show. And I know he does so many good things for people. And like, if you're struggling, you get a big job and you're not sure what to do, you reach out to Roofers Helping Roofers. You know, I think they can, they've helped us quote big jobs. And, you know, I know they can help you as well. And, you know, with the Roofing Academy, Randy Brothers, his new thing, he just came out with like getting your company to 5 million, like sort of a accelerator type program. Like, find out more about that. You know, if you're at like hovering around 2-3 million, he can help you get to 5 million, you know, and he has like a blueprint for it. He's very experienced at doing that. And then we have Get the Referrals is one of our sponsors as well. Like if you ever thought about building an app for your business, sought that out. And the best quote I could get was 60 grand. Okay. So when I came across Get the Referral, I'm like, whoa, this is like amazing, right? Like much more cost effective, get a nice branded app for your company. And, you know, your customers can download the app as well, and they can send you referrals through the app. That's why it's called Get the Referral. So, anyways, yeah, reach out to Get the Referral. And then finally, Jack Hanks, my first sponsor. I love you, Jack. Velocity Public Adjusting. You know, he was one of the first ones to really believe in me. We could do this show, and it's just been growing. We've just been getting more and more. Our audience just keeps growing, you know. And so, and I love doing this stuff, and I just do it because I love it. If the audience isn't there, who cares? Like I will keep doing this. Hopefully, I don't go bankrupt doing it, but you know, we'll keep making it happen. So thank you, Jack Hanks with Velocity Public Adjusting. Reach out to him. Latest is that he's actually teaching now how to be a public adjuster. So the world is in need of more public adjusters too. This industry and claims is definitely in need of it. So thank you for all that you do, Jack. That's going to be our show. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week at 10 a.m. live. Hopefully we get started on time. That's my fault. I'm always running late. I'll be late for my own funeral. I was late for